In this episode, I wanted to discuss the human spirit, the spiritual aspect of the person. Sometimes it's called the eye of the soul. It's the means by which we perceive God, that we have the vision of God, which is a teaching of the Orthodox Church, is that a human person goes through three stages. Purification, which is the removal of those things that are not of God within us. Illumination, which is where we begin to learn about God. And finally, glorification, which is where we are transformed. We're standing in the presence of God Himself. And it is the Spirit that is the doorway by which that we have that connectedness to God, and through that, our body and our soul become united with God. Our whole personhood is transformed. And these three aspects, the body and its sensations, its experience of emotions, and physical manifestations, the soul and its thoughts, its reasons, and finally rationality. And then you finally have this spiritual connectedness to God. These all three form who we are, and that center of awareness then becomes the let's say the functionality of our will. Our human will is a combination of all these three things, and by that our will is informed by what our body perceives, what we think of it, and then its reference to God and His presence and His love and His energy. And these three things together is how we judge and make decisions and literally become who we are. And in the Orthodox Church, these three elements also are what we consider to be a human will, which is without being influenced. We are self-contained to have a free will. We have a perfectly free will in the sense that it's not a perfect will that always makes the right decisions, but that it is, this system here is made to make its own decisions. It is not tampered with. There are no little puppet strings on here that God or anyone else can kind of pluck. So either God or Satan or anyone else can't really take over the system. It must be voluntarily yielded, which is what the example of Christ gave us. We say in the church, is a teaching of the Orthodox Church, that Jesus Christ had a perfectly free will, perfectly human will, as well as a divine will. But that human will He demonstrated to us as being perfectly submitted to God, and therefore He was able to demonstrate to us that we are supposed to voluntarily submit ourselves to divine will, but then work with it. You see, it's not that God says, okay, I'll take you over and I'm going to make you my little marionette and you're going to do whatever I want. It is that we are supposed to actually transform who we are so we can work with God, that we can be not a robot or a part of a Borg, but that this system can function in reference to God, and this is where our spiritual perception comes in. But it's not that we're utterly under His control. Anytime that you tamper with the system and say, well, somebody has the ability to override, even for a moment, the human will and the human person, you no longer have person. And this also gets into the issues regarding salvation and whether God can decide to override someone's decision not to love Him and not to want to be with Him. And so therefore God then sort of in a way is making a choice to save some and not save others, to draw some to Him and not others. The church teaches us that every one of us has to make that decision on our own. And that decision is tested in this life, but it is not anything that God overrides, because to override it would be, in essence, to wipe out our humanity. We would no longer be human beings. Because, again, this is made in the image and likeness of God, and God is not overridden. He is who He is. And so, therefore, this is a system that is made to be perfect. It is made to be submitted to God out of love, out of joy, out of happiness, and to work with Him in His the manifestation of His will on earth and in creation. So that gives you a little idea of the human person, and we'll probably be talking more about it later. Take care.